All right, we are live with Gauntlet Hangouts. This is the fourth of four sessions running Dungeon World. Session was titled, I think, The Threat of the Pale Moon Horde. Our heroes are finding themselves in a pretty precarious position. They assaulted the back lines of a phalanx of men that was kind of attacking the rest of their men at camp. They've broken through the lines in some places and taken some serious hits in others. We'll go a little more into depth of how precarious each of the player characters are in. But first, I want to check with the players. We've had a few people level up, and we're fine to let them take that level now, even though we're in the middle of action. And then we're going to run through keys. So, Mika, I believe you took a level. Why don't you tell us what move you took, and just if you want to summarize your keys and then call out one key in particular you're hoping to have turned this session?
Yeah, so I took an advanced move from the Thief playlist, or sorry, the Fighter playbook, because I have an option to do that as a Barbarian advanced move. So the move I took is called Seeing Red, and it says when you discern realities in combat, take +1. And then my keys are related to my kind of appetites and otherness. So when I indulge an appetite despite risk to myself, when I convince an ally to get a tattoo to commemorate some particular event, which is part of my, this tattooing ritual is part of my culture, or when I explain my beliefs to someone, those are my keys. And I think Key of the Mirthful is the one I'd like to turn today, which is indulging one of my appetites despite great personal risk.
And just as a reminder, his appetite is riches and property.
Yes.
So if you guys find places in the fiction and you want to say, hey, let's have this scene, feel free to call it out at any time, guys. Okay, let's see. Ulf, did you settle on the move that you want to take?
Yeah, I just chose Camouflage Position, which is a, I'm not sure what playbook it's from. The Itinerant Hunter is kind of an amalgamation of several, and this might be a hunter move, but it says when you strike with a ranged weapon from hiding, my first shot never gives away my position.
Awesome, I like that.
And I took one attribute in con.
Cool. And then you want to just summarize your keys, and if you have one in particular you want to turn, give it a shout out.
So let's see. Let me scroll back down. I know I have the or up. Key of the Hunter. Honestly, this one I was trying to turn last session, and it just went horribly wrong with some terrible rolls. But I would still love, if possible, to locate a creature I've been tracking, or single-handedly defeat a wild creature of considerable might or cunning. And the buy-off is when I allow a dangerous creature I've been tracking to roam free. If the fiction allows. If not, not a big deal. Key the Melancholic. When my somber mood keeps me from reveling in the spoils, or when I let a problem escalate by brooding or drowning my sorrows. I might like to buy this one off. When I allow myself to be infected by another person's joy. And then Key of the Awestruck, I think I'll keep looking for opportunities to turn when I dwell on the beauty, majesty, or wonder of a place, or when my elation over a wondrous place, object, or person distracts me from real danger.
Awesome. Let's see. It looks like Steven's still setting up, so we'll skip him for a second. Alfred, why don't you go through your keys and call out one if you have one in mind that you want to turn. You're muted.
Yeah, I just realized. So for my level up, I really didn't get anything worth talking about. I took a move, but I don't plan on using it. I upgraded a stat, but it didn't change my modifier. So I'm just going to skip over that commentary. I have the Key of the Deceiver, which is when you paint a picture of your past for someone and they believe you, or when one of your lies comes back to haunt you. Key of the Merited, when you are given credit for your skills or when you solve a problem that nobody else could at the time. Honestly, I didn't give myself much to work with in terms of what key I would want to turn this particular session. Key of the Deceiver doesn't really seem like something I'm particularly interested in turning in a sort of hot combat section. And Key of the Merited, I could easily turn, but I could just as easily not turn it as well. So okay. I guess I don't really have anything to aspire to.
Yeah, that's fine. If you don't have one in particular that you want to keep their eye out for, we'll just kind of keep an eye on both of them. All right, Garth Maul, did you pick a move yet from your level up?
Yep, so my new move for my level up is Born of Fire. I cannot be harmed by fire, and I'm not vulnerable to heat, which in my opinion makes my sword safe at all times. I cannot be hurt by my flame sword.
Safe to you, sure.
Thank you. And I'd like to try and use the Key of Power, considering I'm in my opinion, the most precarious position of all in this as we start this. So I'm going to be looking for an opportunity to use a cool move if we kind of head that way. Otherwise, I imagine we're going to get into some sort of battle, and we're going to go balls to the wall and do something cool.
Cool. All right. Steven, are you back with us yet?
Yeah, mostly. I'm going to switch over to my computer in a minute here, but I'm present enough.
Okay. Do you want me to start describing the situation, and then we can come to you and your keys once you're all set up?
No, I can go over my keys, and then that way we'll be ready to rock.
Cool.
So I've got. There's not really one I'm trying to focus on. I mean, most of my keys just involve me showing off and being a jerk. So I'll just stick with that course of action. No level up in between sessions. I didn't earn anything. So just regular little old me. What else do I need to cover?
Yeah, you didn't level up, so yeah, we just wanted to double check on your keys if you have one in particular you wanted us to turn. But that sounds good. We'll just watch for you to be a jerk.
All right.
And we won't take it personal as players. Cool.
So it's the norm?
Yeah, exactly.
The usual.
Okay, so last we left, our heroes had assaulted the rear lines of a phalanx of, I think we said 35, 40 men. They have some skirmishers on the flanks. We charged into their back, mostly on horseback. I think at this point everybody's dismounted, whether their horse was shot from under them or they dismounted on their own. And we found out that this was, I think maybe just table knowledge. We know that this is like the royal guard of a neighboring city, Tun Vareg. Now we were marching towards Tun Vareg, and this is the king of Minotas, Vaklova. And last we saw Vaklova, he had his shield, which he's a very large man, 6'5", 300 pounds. He's got a tower shield with a spike on the bottom, which seems to be his primary weapon. He still is yet to draw a sword or spear. And he's got Garth pinned to the ground with this spike kind of just resting on his chest, and called for everybody to stop fighting. The rest of your camp was on the other side from where you guys charged, and their battle and their clash with the spearmen wasn't going poorly, wasn't going well. It was just kind of, a locked battle. We also had Alfred, who had snuck into the lines and had pulled some craziness. He actually allowed for Vaklova to be caught on fire for a few moments, dealt some reasonable damage to him, but the fire has been put out by now. And he pulled some fancy maneuvers, flipped over some people's shields, but still was caught by the right-hand woman of Vaklova. She grabbed him by the back of his shirt and now has a knife. I don't know if we said to his throat, but like ready, posed to strike.
I mean, we didn't say that, but okay. Sure.
So she's
no. I'm fine with it. It's reasonable.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure. We have Urtrek, who is the next closest to Garth, maybe 10 paces, probably even a little closer. And he's just been casting spells left and right, helping people out, and harming a couple of people because he accidentally cast some smoke stuff on Alfred earlier. Ulf is pretty far out of the fight, far enough that he could probably try and camouflage himself if he so desired. Last we saw him, he was ducking down below his horse that had been shot from underneath him. He had been sending some aiding fire over towards Mika, who's not quite up to the shield wall. She had called out some enemies to fight her, and I think, if I remember right, we only had like one of those left. Is that right, Mika?
I thought there was two. One of whom was pretty bloodied, and the other of whom was relatively untouched.
Yeah, you're right. And then there were some skirmishers that were nearby, but not like
those. I believe were the ones that were engaged with Wolf.
Yep. Anything I missed there, or described different than you all remember? Okay. Well, we are going to start right in the action then. A ceasefire had just been called. I think we clarified that everybody had kind of not necessarily put their weapons away, but lowered their weapons. I think Wolf had his bone drawn, but was saying that he wasn't going to fire unless action started. So I think
there was one thing I just remembered. We forgot to mention that the second hand is currently trying to drain my life.
Yeah,
that's kind of important.
To cast a spell. What did she deal? Like 3 or 4 damage to you?
It was a 4 flat damage. Okay, it was not rolled. But it was basically. I'm assuming it's not with the knife hand because I imagine like she needs to actually be holding my flesh to do it.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Yeah, so it's probably the other hand that she's got kind of like around you, and then I'm kind of imagining one arm over like your neck and chest, and then the other in your side with the knife. Does that sound good? Because that gives the skin-to-skin contact for her to do this draining thing.
Oh yeah, totally fine.
Cool. All right, so let's start there. So Vaklova, seeing that the battle had lulled at his word, he is going to take his shield off of Garth and reach down to you to lift you up. Garth, what do you do?
I accept his help.
Cool. He probably even like lifts you up off the ground for a moment, but you catch yourself, and he says, "Very well. Fine fight. Great battle. Now, can we not kill each other?" What are you guys all saying?
If you call off your second in command, I would be more than happy to talk. I imagine you did not lose. I'm sorry, hold on, a little stuttering. I imagine you did not wish to lose so many men, and neither do we. At least not before your march, of course.
Lainey, let him go. He's not your type. And she'll release you. You can walk away if you so please.
I'm just gonna stand where I am. If she's walking away, then whatever. I might even just stand next to her as long as she's not still holding me.
Yeah. She'll even sheathe the knife and take a half a step back. But well, we are on our way to Tun Vareg. We have business there. What business have you in these parts?
We have come to Tun Vareg as well, although more as a scouting crew. As you can see, we don't have spears like yours around here.
Ah, you are with the Pale Moon Horde, no?
Perhaps it would do our business ill to actually say what we're here for.
Is anybody less cryptic? I need to talk man to man.
All right.
If the fighting's over, I'd like to walk up and reclaim my broken spear.
Oh yeah, he had shattered that kind of in the middle. Yeah. Are you saying or doing anything as you walk past him?
Yeah. I want to pick it up and look at him and make an obscene gesture, and then walk back to my wounded horse and maybe see if I can do something about that.
What's with the grumpy one? Hey, Inigo, give him your spear. One of the guys is going to trot over to you and hand you a much nicer spear. You can mark it in your inventory as +1 damage.
Oh, right on. I'm gonna keep the one I had though. It has sentimental value, but I nod in appreciation.
Anyway,
maybe you could make it a double spear by tying the previous spearhead onto that one.
Ah.
Then we'll have a double spearhead and a double flame sword in the party. Now we need just a double axe somewhere. Well, if you are not interested in stopping us, we are going to begin to the march. You do what you want, but we will be in the city by nightfall.
Very well. We have no quarrel left. You may go. Not that we had much of a choice to begin with, of course, I say with a grin.
Indeed. The Lady of Battle finds us all. So they're going to start kind of gathering their gear. It's going to take a few minutes, for everybody to...
Yeah, I'd imagine both sides have to do so.
Yeah.
Why were we fighting these guys in the first place?
We could ask, actually, what happened. Like, Alfred's going to go back to... I keep on forgetting names, sorry. What was it? Who was the head of it? Was it...
Gagook?
Gagook, yeah, he's going to go back to Gagook and get a report on how exactly this came about.
Scouts game report. I'm still got that lift on my tongue. Scouts report. Soldiers armed, lower spears. We fight.
Very well.
Where were those guys going? To Tun Vareg? Where were they from?
They were from the neighboring city, Tun Minotas.
Tun Minotas is undefended.
At least kingless.
There's no reason for us to go to Tun Minotas. That's not the goal.
Didn't we come here to see city-states?
Say it again, you cut out.
Didn't we come here to seize city-states and acquire client kingdoms?
No, we more came to do a specific job, which was to see how dangerous the challenges ahead of the main forces are.
Yeah, Gagook has a little bit of an idea here. He says, we to march to Tun Vareg. Minotas, we have no orders for.
However, it could be advantageous for them to, as I said, we had no plans of stopping them to begin with. Battle went their way, but it could be advantageous the way this went. When one force conquers a land, they leave the next force to come with a lot to grab, because both sides usually have exhausted both their defenses and their offenses during the initial skirmish. Anyway, that's not necessarily for me to decide. We're not the ones who are the generals in this fight. At least, not the ones that are going to matter in history.
I will keep scouts to watch the bearded one, and we will march to Tun Vareg. We are to secure the tunnels, remember?
Oh, I remember. I remember well. But we're going to need to delay ourselves so that we don't stay too close to these people. And also, let it be known to the scouts, the main purpose of them watching is nothing more than to see if these people know about the tunnels. That is the whole purpose.
Cool.
And make sure and one more thing.
Oh, yeah.
Make sure it's people who won't talk even if they're captured. Because if they fail, then they definitely know about the tunnels.
Cool. Yeah, if you guys watch Gook when he goes to talk to his scouts, he gives two of them red, like strips of cloth, and he ties them on each of their arms and does like a momentary like head-to-head kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
You get the idea that it was following this specific order. Maybe these guys are meant to kill themselves upon capture or something like that. One more detail I want to add before the men from Minotas march away is this purple demon lady is going to kind of wink over in your direction, Alfred, and she drops a orange feather on the ground and kind of like indicates that it's for you, and then struts off as the rest of the men start marching.
Alfred is going to not just take the orange feather. When he goes to it, he's going to basically take some holy water out and pour it on the feather before he actually takes it, just to make sure there's no sort of demonic spell on it.
Cool. Yeah, you don't see any kind of reaction.
No, like sizzling, bubbling, or anything like that.
Yeah, you can have the confidence that if it was cursed by demon magic, it won't get you.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Let's kind of open up to table talk and figure out where everybody wants to go from here.
One other thing, is the feather the same kind of feathers that the orcs use, or is it a totally different thing?
No, it's different. It's thinner, less poofy, more streamlined. It almost looks like a phoenix feather, if you're familiar with them.
Probably not. Phoenixes don't sound like the kind of thing I would see unless like some very rare occasion. Yeah, so no. I probably wouldn't have to know how if it's a phoenix feather.
Cool. Well, let's open up to table talk. I know we were talking about kind of fast forwarding, maybe being like a larger battle play out. We can absolutely do that if you guys are still interested in that, or we can play this at a ground level and watch you guys try and secure the tunnel. What are you guys most interested in seeing?
I think fast, like assuming we will find the tunnels, I think for me, fast forwarding to that point rather than having us kind of grope around in the wilderness for that seems more interesting to me, but I'm open to hear what the rest of the table thinks.
I would tend to agree. I would think that we have some kind of insights to where the tunnels are, and that we are heading in that direction rather quickly, and so we fast forward and we're there.
Yeah, I'm down with it.
Agreed. Yeah.
All right, sounds good. Let's do that then. So over the next, it's not even a full day's walk there. If you guys want to spend the time before you go into the tunnels, we can have you guys make camp, but it'll mean that you guys are getting there the next morning instead of tonight.
We can do with that, considering that we're supposed to be waiting for the guys to get ahead of us anyway.
Sounds good, because you're letting
We're trying to get some distance between us.
Go ahead. Cool. So the scouts will come back and report to you guys several times that the prearranged location, the entrance to this tunnel, is kind of in an outcropping of rock. There's some tall pine trees attached to it, and the rest of the area nearby is pretty flat land, maybe some farms or something nearby. But it looks like that the Minota's men are going to that same location. If you guys are trailing far enough behind, probably they'll go into the tunnel system before you guys get there.
Yeah, they will.
And then you guys can make camp in that outcropping. Does that sound good?
Mm-hmm. So basically, they secured the tunnel system prior.
They have entered the tunnels, yes.
Okay, so they actually knew about it. All right.
And go ahead.
I have a question about the horse that was shot out from under me. Was that did I lose that horse? Was I able to like heal it or take care of it?
Does anybody who's like really? I know you guys all said you rode, but Wolf, if you have like a husbandry of horses kind of knowledge, then we can make a roll to see if you're able to get it up in working condition.
I can fix it.
Yeah. Not the kind of healing I was looking for. No, I was more interested in I have this idea of his clerical abilities coming on like one by one. And
cool.
So in the last battle he charged ahead and concentrated all his anger and rage into that spear and managed to cast fear, maybe by accident. And now maybe he mourns over that horse and manages to cast Cure Wounds or something.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, why don't you, and if anybody wants to be nearby and in this scene, go ahead, but why don't you just kind of describe for us what that looks like? I think that's a great idea.
So is it happening at the battlefield or at camp?
Wherever you like, before you go or at camp.
Well, let's say that, how about this? So we managed to, the horse it threw me, it was wounded, but it managed to walk along. No one rode it. It was tied. It followed the camp, and perhaps when we got there to make camp, the orcs were looking at it like it was dinner. Like you would shoot a horse with a broken leg. Maybe you slaughter a horse with this kind of injury because it's not necessarily going to die, but also not really going to perform its role for the party anymore. I'll go over and kind of wave them off, and I'll do the Nietzsche thing. I'll run up and throw my arms around its neck and start to sob, and maybe I have a flashback into my childhood. I tried to go on my first hunt. I was overzealous. I wounded myself with an arrow or a spear, and I was super embarrassed. And bringing up that memory while hugging the horse triggers Cure Light Wounds.
Yeah. So is there like a light to it when that happens, or do we see anything on screen, or do we just see that the horse is like much healthier?
No, maybe so. Maybe it was like an open wound that I covered when I hugged it, and when I pulled away, it was mended, maybe gone, or maybe it was just closed.
Cool. I like it. Um, so that you said that happened at camp, right?
Yeah, that happened at camp. Maybe the orcs just saw it and maybe they think something about it. I don't know.
Yeah, you might.
You said they were eyeing you. You said they were eyeing it like it was dinner. So, like you said, they probably just brought it back to eat.
Probably, yeah, and I ruined that for them.
Urtek probably overhears them grumbling about how good horse meat would have been, but not anymore. So a couple of runners come from the camp, and they come from the main cohort and announce that the cohort and the Pale Moon Horde are a day's march away. Their intent is to camp outside of the city and assault within 4 days if the city doesn't capitulate. The plan with the tunnels is to allow enough men to get in through these tunnels that they can kind of infiltrate and cause some distraction, or even open the gates without the men in the city noticing, and let the horde in.
Do we need to send intel back to the rest of our group that this other army has entered the conversation?
Seems like a wise thing to do, yeah.
Yeah, to answer that, I think Alfred would say that after the camping is done, we're going to actually head backwards because we've scouted as far as threats can be before the actual assault. We're going to meet up and discuss our options there, because the way I see it, the whole idea with the tunnel is going to be virtually useless to us now, because the city is not going to fall for the same trick twice.
Was Minoltas, are they going to siege Vareg, or were they going to help them?
It was unclear from what you guys had talked to them about. All they said was that they had business in the city.
But if their business was anything other than dubious, then they would have gone through the gates rather than sneaking through the tunnels. We have to assume that they have nefarious intentions. And how many were in that party?
You guys killed a few, so they were between 30, 35 people. So it wasn't a large
group. Yeah, so not a small enough group that they could have snuck into the city, and them entering the city through the tunnels wasn't necessarily representative of an assault so much as an infiltration, potentially, that they've planted themselves in the city and are not necessarily attacking it as such.
We would figure out if they attacked it, because people would be panicking, more or less.
But you wouldn't think, I mean, they wouldn't, you would assume they weren't launching an all-out attack with 35 soldiers, right? So I'm assuming this is an advanced party or an information gathering,
They were armed extremely well, so,
true, but I don't think
they were armed better than our scouts.
Do we have any intel on what the standing army of Tun Vareg would consist of?
That's a good question. I think that's a spout lore almost.
Yeah. Why doesn't somebody give me a spout lore? Who would know the most about the military might of the region?
I'm guessing that Alfred would have gotten debriefed as our leader potentially before we went on this mission. So I think fictionally it makes the most sense that it'd be him.
Yeah. The only other way, Garth, would your expanded consciousness, would that fit in here? I'm not too familiar with it.
Let me look again.
Yeah, no.
Not really.
Actually,
Okay.
I'm glad you mentioned expanded consciousness, because one of those things could help. He has a brief vision of the imminent future, as if he had discerned realities of what is about to happen.
Cool. So why don't we have Alfred roll a spout lore, and then Garth, if you want to use one of your focus to have a vision of the future, you can do that as well.
All right, that's a 7.
All right, so something interesting about the city of Minotus concerning its military might. That's what we were looking for, right?
Yeah.
So if you think about these cities as like city-states of ancient Greece, Minotus would definitely be the Sparta of the group. The most well-armed, the most well-trained, small population relative to the amount of land they hold, but they rule not so much by like, it's not like mafia style, but all the lands that they cover, they say, we've got a big old bad phalanx that'll come your way if you don't feed the city, etc., etc.
So they sort of rule by fear.
Yeah.
So when they come into a city, do they essentially like take over by force, or do they just threaten with their image of force?
There's not very many large cities like these two. There's maybe one other that's nearby, but even that is past Minotus.
Mm-hmm.
So the places they take over are like villages and small hamlets.
Okay, so this is sort of a little beyond the scope of what it would be.
Yeah, it's kind of like a feudalistic thing. Like they say, "Hey, you feed us, we promise to protect you."
Okay.
So then this 35 people, this feels more clandestine, their infiltration. Would you agree?
Yeah.
Yep.
Cool. Garth, did you want to make that move, or were you going to hold on to your focus?
So I think I have 2 left. So I'll go for 1 now, assuming I'll have 1 left for a battle or something later.
Yeah, and we're gonna have a camp, so I think you get some of it at least back during camp. Cool. So the vision you have of the future, you see dark sewers, you see murky running water, you see the purple standard of the Kingdom Minotus in basically in these sewers. You see a small gnome wearing a phoenix-clasped cloak. So he's obviously a member of the company, and he's kind of sneaking around in these sewers as well, and he's up on a ledge, and he watches them march by, and he starts running, and that's all you see.
Interesting. Okay. So, I guess I'm going to keep this one quiet for now.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, so then let me ask, are you guys more interested in seeing how the larger battle plays out, the siege? Or are you guys more interested now in following these guys into the tunnel and seeing what's going on a micro level?
I'm down for the siege.
Yeah, I think that's what I'm thinking as well, that maybe we use our knowledge of their infiltration as kind of a tool to aid our own assault, that we kind of use them as a diversion, and kind of maybe launch our assault here with the knowledge that this other party is involved, and that might potentially split the focus of the defenses or something.
We might actually be able to use them in another way. I just realized something. And this is something Alfred would suggest as an option when meeting up with everyone, the Pale Moon Horde and whatnot. Actually, should we have that scene now? I think we should probably have the planning scene now.
Yeah, I'm making sure that we did want to move to the larger siege rather than...
Yeah, I think I'm interested in that too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, let's. So we'll have one quick scene at camp. You guys can all go up to your full health, and since you guys are going to be spending about a week camped outside the city, you'll have time to make some preparations. So if you want to take one hold, that'll just. It's part of the bolster move. Whenever you feel like using that hold, we'll say, okay, what were you doing in camp that prepared you for this exact situation? Okay. And it just gives you +1 to any roll that you have in the bigger battle. So the real quick scene I want to do before we go to the planning is that gnome that that you had seen in your vision, Garth, appears in the middle of camp as you guys are kind of sitting around the fire doing your things. And he says, hello, hello. Oh, good, I found you. Hello. And he looks like specifically at you, Garth. He's like, you can't do that to people, not without their permission, at least.
What is it you speak of?
I have this contraption, and he like shows you this whirring thing on his arm. And he's like, I know you were watching. Just don't do that to me in the future. Anyway, we just saw Vaklova and Laney go into the city. Are you guys not coming too? Are they the ones who are opening the gates after all?
That's the current plan.
Oh, okay. What are we supposed to do then? Because I thought we were helping them. Maybe we're supposed to help them. You guys have your own thing. That's right. That's right. Ishtar doesn't give everybody's orders. Anyway, is there anything I can do to help you?
Ishtar. Yeah, Ishtar's real bad about giving orders. But one thing Ishtar did say is that make sure you give us all the information that you have first. So we're going to need you to give us all the information you have about what the plan is up to this point before we can really move forward. That's priority number 1.
Okay, so me and, you know what? You're not going to meet them anyways. So me and my buddies, we've been clearing out the sewers. We've been preparing the way. We made sure we got rid of this rat thing. Oh my gosh, it was disgusting. It was like your height, pointing to, oh goodness, now I just forgot your name. It was about your height, pointing to Mika, but it had like this arm coming out of its shoulder. Anyway, we killed the Rat King. We cleared the sewers. We cut the deal with Laney. And now they said that you guys, or maybe it was the Pale Moon, they were going to send men through there so that when the siege opened in a few days, the gates would be opened. And we're kind of hoping it doesn't even come to a siege, but it sounds like nobody wants to give in.
So what deal did you cut? Was that supposed to happen? Or are you just wheeling and dealing on your own?
Ishtar gave us a blank slate. He just said, get some leverage. And this is the leverage we got.
So can you give us a little more info on that?
Ishtar? Well, like he shows up in this mirror thing.
No. I mean the deal.
Oh, the deal.
What is involved in it?
Oh, the deal was that we weren't going to light any more of Minota's men on fire. We killed a few, and then Laney made a deal with it.
Out of character, do we know who Ishtar is?
Yeah, sorry. Ishtar is the head wizard of the cohort. So, also out of character, this is a character from the other game that's happening simultaneous to you. And this is literally what they've been doing in their games. They've been preparing this tunnel. So you guys don't have to go in there during the siege if some of you want to, but just so you know, this is an option. We can continue playing out the scene if you think that Get is kind of an interesting character to talk to, though.
Would it be an opportunity for me to hunt and track like a big gnarly rat creature if I went into the tunnels?
Yes, I think it would. Yeah.
I might be interested in that.
Cool. Does anybody else want to do that with him while the siege opens up? Make sure
I'll give you some backup.
I can provide light.
But like, what's the purpose of that?
Well, so are we potentially then also going through the tunnel, or are we planning on entering clandestinely? It sounds like the gates will be opened by someone else.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to be taking the tunnel plan, but I do have an idea of what to do with the knowledge of the tunnel and then going through it.
Okay, so hold on to that for 1 second, Ruben. So if you guys want to go through the tunnel and sneak in and open the gates, that's great. If you want to be part of the larger battle, you can also lead a company up climbing the walls or make the charge through the gate. Whatever you guys are most interested in doing, we'll make it happen. So, but so going back to Ryan or Ulf, if you want to track this creature to make sure that the tunnels are completely safe for all the men that are going to come through there, yeah, let's do that. That sounds great.
All right.
So then what? Okay, so then what if Ulf and Mika are planning on moving through the tunnels, and whomever else moving through the tunnels, making sure that this is a clear path, sending a missive back to the rest of the horde to say, we will open the gates. However, don't send all of the horde through the front gates. Also send a smaller party through the tunnels. That way, we're not, there's no like choke point for all of the horde to have to go through the main entrance. So we'll act as the.
Cool.
What I don't get is why we're trying to go through the tunnels in the first place when the forces of Tun Vareg have already gone through the tunnels. I mean, they're bound to notice us going through it at some point.
Well, haven't they already gone through several days ahead of us?
Yeah, but isn't it like a whole tunnel system?
Well, and Ruben, I might remind you that she knew you guys. She's had dealings with Phoenix Company, right?
Mm-hmm.
She knew who you were, and she still was a total biatch to you. So maybe trusting them is not 100% good idea.
Also,
wait, why? Who said I was trusting them?
Oh, you just mean that you think we're going to run into them in the tunnel system?
Yeah, and then we're going to basically make a huge commotion.
Well, which, I mean, that makes sense. I thought there was enough time between where we're at now and the initial troops going through that wouldn't be an issue, that they're well into the city by now.
I mean, let's totally writer's room this. If you're interested in meeting them in the tunnels, we'll make it happen. If you're not, we won't.
I mean, Ulf is almost compelled. He hears the story about this rat creature, and he almost needs to go and track it down and see what it's about, and maybe try to kill it.
Except
dead already?
Yeah, I think the gnome did say that they had killed the Rat King already, but
we can say that's fine. I sorry if this is like too meta for you guys, but I just want you guys to have this is our last session. I want you to have the scenes that you think are cool.
Yeah,
So
maybe he's more self-interested, honestly, than in the bigger battle itself. Or maybe he just feels more comfortable in the tunnel than in the open field.
Okay. So then let's have Ulf and why do I keep on forgetting your name? Mika. You guys will have men coming behind you, and as you clear the way, your rolls will contribute to how easily they are able to open the gates. And then what are the other three of you guys going to do? What role do you want in the big battle?
I want to go in the tunnels.
Oh, you're going to go in the tunnels too? Sure.
I was born in the dark.
In character, I'm like, you can come, but you cannot bring your horror bird.
I can do what I want. But I don't see the bird being useful in the tunnels.
Cool.
You don't like the bird?
I'm distrustful of people who use magic.
Because you don't have it?
I don't require it. I don't need to use tricks to be successful. I use my strength and my wits.
Oh, they're more than tricks.
So are you bringing your weird bird?
No, I can stay out here. Like I said, it's probably not useful in a tunnel. Maybe we'll find that Rat King. I'll make something cool out of him too.
I will kill it before you do.
Doesn't it already have an arm growing out of it? I mean, this just seems like a challenge to make it worse.
Yeah.
Well, I thought that one was the one that they tried to kill, but there might be another.
Sure.
So are we looking for a rat queen now?
That might have just been the prince.
Does anyone know anything about the rat hierarchy here? Can we get a spout lore on that stuff?
All right. So Alfred and Garth, they're going to kind of lead this expedition to open the gates. What are you guys wanting to do during the battle?
I'm kind of torn. Garth is like, he wants to go where the action is, which is probably the gates. But he really likes using his flame sword in the dark because he feels cool. So he's torn. He wants to know how quickly he thinks Ulf and Mika are gonna accomplish their goal. If he's sitting around for a long time, he's going in the tunnels.
So
Let's go open the gate. That sounds fun.
Because if we're opening the gate, sweet. But if we're going hunting for rat kings, that sounds way more fun.
So let's ask. We still have our gnome there, right?
Yeah, you can still get information from him.
Yeah. So this tunnel, is it a system? Are we talking about a pipeline, like right into the city? What are we looking at here?
Oh, I'm glad you asked. And he like unfurls this big old map and sets some stones down. He points, we're here. The city's there, so it's about half an hour walk from this tunnel into the main tunnel system, and then the tunnels go everywhere. You know, it's like all over. There's an exit here by the gates. There's an exit by both the bridges to Old Vareg, and there's an exit over here by the Masons Guild. And I don't like the Masons. We could take them out just for fun. Anyway, it pretty much takes you anywhere on the land side of the city that you want to go.
Okay. I need you to do two things.
Yes.
Number one, on the map, show me the location of the Rat King. Two, draw on the map the most direct route from where we are to a location closest to the front gates.
Okay. Yeah, he'll draw that. So you have, whenever you guys are ready to go to the gates, we'll just cut to that. And then he'll mark an X where he last saw the Rat King. Yeah.
Thank you.
Aren't we still going to have like a scene with our forces, sort of talking about how we're going to go to the place?
Well, so that's kind of what we're doing now, is we're metaing it. So Alfred,
okay,
is more interested in going with the main forces because it feels like everybody else is kind of wanting to go underground.
Yeah, I'm a bit surprised that it's splitting like this, but I guess I'm sort of, my character Alfred, he's more into the he doesn't see the underground thing as having as much of a purpose anymore, so he's not much into that.
Okay.
But he does have but it still needs to be addressed that actually he's gonna ask the gnome, did the gnome overhear any talk about Tumanotus's forces, say saying that they're going to go into the city at any time.
All Lainey told me is that that Vaclova was coming, and man, is he big. I'm like the size of his hand. But when Vaclova got here, that they were going to wait for the signal from the Horde and open the gates, and the Horde would let the city know that they would open the gates, and I think they get a discount on the taxes they have to pay to the Horde. I'm not much of a numbers guy.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, Alpha is going to need to talk to like the main forces when they get here to sort of clarify that that's actually the deal.
Cool. So let's have a fast forward. So Alfred, you'll be back in the main camp. The rest of you guys will have kind of a hand wavy. You're hunting, looking for signs for about a day or two of the Rat King, and then on the day of the assault, we'll say that you found it, and we'll have that scene while you clear the way for the forces to come through. And then Alfred, let's do your little scene with the High Command, and then we'll have you kind of narrating the overall battle as the rolls go underground. Does that sound good to everybody?
Yeah.
Cool. All right. So Alfred, what are you doing when you get to the camp? Lakertos obviously wants to see you immediately. He's interested in the information insight you have.
Mm-hmm. So thankfully, it turns out that most of the obstacles have been circumvented, save for one. That would be, well, I'm not even sure if it's an obstacle. That would be according to the Pale Moon Horde. Supposedly, Black Clovis, the king of Tun Vareg, he's in the tunnels currently. And according to what we've eavesdropped on, we've heard that he's waiting for the signal to invade from the Pale Moon Horde. Now, this would imply that there's a collaboration between the two forces, or that he's trying to take advantage of the forces and merely gave us false information.
Yes. Chaka and I have discussed all of this. It's all above board. The deal was that Chaka's gonna he's paying us a boatload. By the way, you guys are all getting bonuses. And he's going to get tribute regularly from both of these cities. He's cut some kind of side deal. If Minotas stay out of the battle, but help us by opening the gates or causing distraction, then they get a discount on their tribute or something.
Okay.
So it's all above board. Good searching.
Seems to check out. Okay. With that being said, in terms of opening the gate, out of character, how the gate, is it exactly just like a big wall, just the gate? How do they usually get into the city?
So there's two gates on the mainland. So Tun Vareg is kind of split. There's a mainland and then there's an island. So New Vareg is the part on the mainland. There's two gates. You guys will be closer to the, I believe it's the southern gate. And that'll be the one that the Phoenix cohort will be positioned in front of, and then Chaka and the Horde will be positioned in front of the northern gate.
Mm-hmm. Have we determined how the gate is actually opened? Like, is it a lever? Or is it pushed open?
I mean, it's a, I don't know, what do you think is more interesting?
A
lever? I'm getting lever from
the wheel with handles, like you got to.
Yeah, it's probably both. Let's say there's a portcullis that you got to draw up, and then also there's regular gate.
Mm-hmm. Is it what? I'm sorry. Is it what you have to drop and then?
A portcullis, the kind of thing with the spikes on the bottom. It looks more like a gate than a door.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So it's basically just a lever with that.
Yeah, and then there's a wooden door in front of it. Tun Vareg is not built. It's not like a military city, so the doors are probably not super reinforced either.
Mm. All right. So going back to Alfred talking. So as far as we can tell, there is no opposition in the tunnels aside from maybe some spare rats, but supposedly their leader is gone as well. Yes, the rats had a leader. Also, much of my other group has opted to go into the tunnels on the mission to clear it out. So if there's any trouble in there, I have faith that they'll be finishing it off.
I agree with you completely. You've been a great leader to them, which brings me to why I wanted to see you, Alfred. Would you accept position of Centurion? We need somebody to lead the assault on the gates itself once they're open. Comes with a hefty pay bonus.
It does, but I would like to know if there's any other, how should I say, any other candidates that would be more suited for the role.
Well, you'll have the Primus Pelis with you, but she's more of a firebrand. She just kills. She doesn't think.
Mm-hmm. All right. I'll take it.
Wonderful. And with that, you get another skull helmet with more feathers, so that the horde knows your new rank, and another pin on your thing. Cool. Let's.
Yeah. Seeing the feathers, Alfred is going to know he has to actually wear this one, at least for the battle. So, yeah, he tries to awkwardly sort of fit it on again. And it takes about like a minute to get it.
Cool. So let's do the opening day of the siege. So, Ruben, I'll probably have you sit quiet for a couple of minutes while we see how their progress goes. And then I'll pull you as soon as the action makes sense to turn the camera back, okay? Let's take a 5-minute break, get some water, and then we will wrap this session up.
Sorry about that.
Are you fine? You're right on time.
So, are you opening any more games after this one closes?
I just filled my games for July. I had a Monday night Dungeon World. We're doing like West Marches kind of style. Are you familiar with that at all?
West March?
Yeah. We're gonna have several GMs running every month, and then the whole world, whatever the players choose to go do, will change everybody's games the next month. So, but I think Ruben's in that one with me. I think in August I'll probably do 2, but I haven't decided the days and stuff.
I'll keep an eye out. I've got July and August, and then September. Availability shifts pretty drastically.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll before I post, I'll make sure to send you a note.
That'd be great. That'd be great.
Andrew can catch up. We'll just start going.
Hey, send me a note too.
Yeah, absolutely. And the videos for the other team, the other half of this one, are online. So if you guys want to watch or listen to those, they pick some very abrasive personalities. It's really fun to watch. So definitely, if you have time and you want to see what was happening on the other side, go ahead and watch those. Okay, so we've got the opening of the battle. There's some missile fire. Even underground, you start hearing the boom of stones hitting a stone. Basically, no agreement could be brought forth, because even though the Pale Moon threatened and said, "Listen, we've got men inside your city. Like, there's no way you're going to hold out." Tun Vareg just got real stubborn. So underground, we kind of go from that, and we see you guys. Let's get an impression from Ulf. What have you seen left behind by this monstrosity that you've been most able to track it by?
Claw marks. It's big and brazen and territorial, and it likes to just scratch the hell out of every turn in the sewer, every little feature. I imagine kind of like an earthen tunnel with some swampy, mossy stuff, and every little berm, everything is just scratched to mark its passing.
Cool. So by watching these scratches, you can see which ones are new, because it'll have dust in it still because the water hasn't covered it up and such. Cool. So you've been tracking it a couple of days leading up to this battle, and you've got a pretty good sense of it. I'm going to ask the other players things that Ulf has said about this creature, maybe its size or its abilities, just things that he's talked this creature up about that are going to make it really badass. So let's start. Mika, what have you heard Ulf mumbling about this creature?
So the gnome said it was my size, and I'm over 2 meters tall. I think because the gnome is quite small, its perception of what big is not exactly right. So Ulf has said, yeah, I don't think that gnome was quite right. This thing isn't 2 meters tall. It's more like 3 meters tall.
Oh, awesome. Garth, what information have you overheard Ulf talking about the creature?
That it makes heavy footprints. You can kind of tell, granted it's 3 meters tall, but it's also hefty. It's not light on its feet. It's cumbersome. Kind of reminds me of more troll or an ogre. Is the impression I'm getting.
And Urtrek, maybe Urtrek, yours might be something about magic if you sensed anything, or just what do you know about this creature?
Well, I mean, it has extra arms because things that eat it can spout pieces of them out of itself. So if it like catches a dude, it can eat him, and maybe that's where the arm came from, and maybe it's come across other denizens of the underground that might have Umberholt claws or something. Who knows?
Cool, love it. Awesome, thank you for helping me create a bad guy, guys. So, Wolf, why don't you take us through these final moments? Probably the moment you realize it's around the corner. Give us a description just generally of the room. We might fill it out a little bit more as we go, but yeah, go ahead.
All right, so I've been following these claw marks, and they start to overlap and they start to pile up in a way that indicates that these particular passageways are traveled frequently. Like, this is right near its lair. Every time it leaves and every time it comes back, it rescuffs these walls and these berms. Maybe it's a big central chamber with kind of a ring around it, a ring of tunnels, and the ring has spokes that shoot off in different directions. But this is like a kind of a nexus, and I can sense that it is home.
Cool. Just to clarify on the room, is it all one floor, or are there multiple levels at all to it?
It's all one floor. The floor is the same level. The ceiling's vaulted in kind of a dome or a cupola type shape.
Awesome. Cool. All right. So yeah, you guys round the corner, and you see slumbering, apparently, this monstrous thing. And it's, as you guys described, it's closer to 3 meters tall, which translates to about, what, like 12 feet or something, roughly. Even laying down, you can tell how tall it is. Its tail is like thicker than a regular man's arm. And also, like Urtrek was kind of sensing, it's got arms sprouting out of it that are not human, not rat. Maybe even an arm or two that still holds weapons from its old master and hasn't entirely forgot how to swing them. And as you guys turn the corner, rats scatter all different directions, and this starts to wake the slumbering beast. What do you guys do?
Does Garth still have that cunning key? Does he want to maybe come up with a quick plan?
See the immediate future?
What's that?
You want me to see the immediate future?
He was calling out your key of cunning.
I can suggest.
Okay, so I'm new at this. Sorry, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
So
how about maybe if I lie in wait, I can take a first and second shot as freebies, and then I'll draw its attention. Do you have any idea what to do from there?
So I like this plan. Let's have you kind of hide, because your first shot is a free one. Then you get your second shot off. The rest of us, I think, should kind of spread out. Be close enough we can help each other and see each other, but we want to be able to attack this monstrosity from as many angles as possible. So if we've got 4 of us here, we're kind of going to do a 3-pronged attack. Mika can go left, Urtek down the middle, and I'll take the right side, and we'll have Ulf, you're going to stay in the back, bow at the ready. Then as soon as you piss them off well enough, we'll be ready to pounce.
Right on. Well, that's what I'd like to do, is try to take a natural position, maybe in some moss or behind some rocks or something, so I can camouflage myself and hit a volley without being exposed.
Cool. Yes, so it rises up, and Garth, have you ignited your sword?
No, I was going to ignite it after it was pissed off, because I don't want to call any additional anything to us, since we're kind of more hidden and it's slumbering.
That's fair. Yeah, so it starts to rise up, and it looks around, and it's sniffing at you guys, and the scent I think it will pick up is Urtrek. I feel like he's the grossest smelling of all of you, and therefore the most interesting to a rat. And it slowly, but it starts clamoring, kind of your way, using its many arms to thump, thump, thump. Starts going your way.
It must have a taste for orc.
Yeah, you see one orc arm in there.
Yeah. It's coming my way.
I'll typically, I like, when I want to draw enemies' attention, I'll like shout and like make myself really big, but I'm for some reason feeling a little cheeky, so I just pick up a pebble and just hit it in the back of the head to try to get its attention focused on me. So
all right. That's when I want to take my my shot from camouflage.
Cool. So let's get the roll from both of you at the same time then. Ulf will be a volley, and then Mika, I forget what it's called, but
what are you waiting for?
6. All right. I want to use my hold for this.
Okay. Yeah, describe for us what preparation it was that pushed this over the edge.
When I was in camp, I gathered a bunch of plants and earth and put together a little kit of mud and twigs and leaves to be able to apply a little bit better camouflage. And I did that just now when I ducked behind the rocks.
Sweet. Roll your damage, and then Mika, what did you get?
I got a 10.
10 plus. Sweet. It turns. For whatever reason, you hit just in the right spot, and it like shrieks, and it's not just kind of like moving; it's like rushing full on. You almost think that it's going to trip itself up as you like, and it's moments away from hitting you, Mika. What are the rest of you all doing?
You sure you don't want some magic?
I'm fine.
I'm lighting my sword for sure and moving towards the rat.
Cool. You have a roll for that, right? To see how much hold you. And I saw your damage on there. You got. Oh wait, no, I don't see your damage. What did you roll for damage, Ryan?
I rolled 5. Maybe it's in the wrong chat again.
Okay.
It is.
Yeah, there's a chat for the video call, and then there's the chat just the chat. So yeah, there's always 2.
I think the video call one doesn't work for the dice mechanic though.
Yeah.
Oh,
no.
it does. It just doesn't work in the chat box to the right of your.
Oh, really?
To the right of the video call itself. It only works in the Hangouts like pop out chat.
Cool.
So I rolled a 12 when I draw my flame sword.
Cool.
And I'm going to throw and +1.
Sweet. So you're summoning more of a spear then to throw it,
Yeah.
or shaped
More
any
of a spear.
Cool. All right. I think Urtrek and Garth, you guys had a moment to act if you want.
So as I noticed that the the Rat King is fully trained on Mika, I'm stepping forward and I'd like to launch my spear, aiming. Since we kind of did the triangular effect here, it's more of a flank. It's definitely kind of left half of the body back, so I don't expect him to see it coming much at all.
Cool. I believe, yeah, you can roll your intelligence for that throw if you'd like, instead of your dex.
So I rolled 2, right?
Yep.
8.
Awesome. So then you can choose to either put yourself in a bad position, or you can choose to use up an extra use of the weapon, or the last thing you could choose is man, I should know volley by now by heart.
So D6.
To take less damage. Thank you, Ruben.
So if I take -1 damage, even though I have +1, it just even itself out?
Well, it'll be minus D6 damage.
Oh. Okay, I'll just be in a bad spot.
Cool. All right, yeah, so that it kind of buries itself in, lights that side of his body on fire. Urtrek, did you want to do anything before it gets into close combat here?
Yeah, I'll help this fool. I'll just blast him with black magic. I want to do forceful. It's like charging at him. I'm gonna try to like maybe throw it off course a little bit, and I also want to debilitate him and make so he does 1 less damage.
Cool, I like it.
So I'll just cast like just a wad of black, smoky black, shadowy energy at him. Where's the thing? There it is. Failed.
Oh no!
Snake eyes. Snake eyes.
All right, so the black kind of smoke leaves your hands, and it's like a ball of smoke. And as it hits his opposite side from where the fire hit, it actually looks like it's starting to grow and attach itself. And we're going to give it 1 extra limb. It's like a tentacle limb that it can use to wrap you guys up.
Oh, that's cool. I should do that on purpose next time.
Yeah, maybe you only got like one part of the formula backwards, you know, barely. All right, cool. So Mika, it is like right in your face. What are you doing in those last moments?
Yeah, I'm just gonna. This was it. Charging at me with abandon was exactly what I intended. So I think I take a step back and wield my axe like a baseball bat, just to give myself that extra beat, and then I swing it dead level, like into its center mass as it approaches me.
Awesome. Sounds like hack and slash to me.
That is 8.
8. Awesome.
So I will. I'll open myself up to counter attack and roll extra damage.
I think that's just on a 10 plus.
Oh yeah, sorry, you're right. So yep. So then that's 10 plus 11 damage.
11 damage. Awesome. And you're gonna take 3d6 plus 2.
Okay.
You know, just a flat 3d6. Drop the.
7. Is that does armor count?
Yeah, armor will count. Cool. So just give us the fiction of what its blows look like as they hit you.
Yeah, so I managed to get my axe not stuck in, but get a blow into its midsection. But I think given the force of it, it kind of I get it in and it almost like pulls me with it a little bit and knocks me off balance, and then one of the however many arms it has comes through, and I'm not in a position to dodge it, so it rakes me across the face.
Sweet. All right. The only thing that's going to change here is that we're going to hear some chittering coming from the tunnel that's closest to Garth. Now, Garth, yours.
Was I supposed to roll for damage on mine?
Yeah, did I forget to have you do that? I'm so sorry.
Yeah, because I did 8. I'm just looking back at our roll history. I got an 8 for hitting him. 12. Yeah, so I never rolled for damage. I wasn't sure if it mattered.
The only damage I have in the notes so far excluded yours, so go ahead and add that. I'm sorry.
What do I roll? A D8? D8.
D8 plus 1.
5.
Cool. All right. So, so Garth hears this chittering behind him, and it kind of, bowls past and maybe even smashes itself against the far wall. And as it turns back around to face Mika, what are you all doing? We're all in kind of a position to take action, so whoever wants to, just raise your hand first.
I'd like to, it sounds like it's maybe kind of regrouping a little bit. I think I'd like to take this as an opportunity to assess it, looking for weak spots, given that it took some damage from Ulf, it took some damage from me. I got to see it like sprinting forward, so I'm like thinking, like, did I notice any spots that it was particularly vulnerable, a leg that it favored, a wound that is seeping that I could focus on.
Awesome. Yeah, go ahead and roll Discern Realities with that.
So that's 5 and 6.
Cool.
I'll use my prep to bump it up to a 7.
Great.
Yeah, so I asked when I was back in camp, I was asking the gnome as many questions as I could think about for what to expect from the Rat King. So I at least had like a picture in my mind of what it looked like, so I was able to get a little more, macro and like focus in more on weak spots rather than having to look at the big picture too much.
Awesome. Give us one question from the Discern Realities.
Yeah, let's go for what should I be on the lookout for?
Cool. You'll notice that the blows you guys have dealt to it so far have opened it up. How's the best way to describe this? The arms are literally like sprouting through the flesh. So some of them have kind of fully like healed around it, but the newer arms, it looks like, are still kind of like festering wounds around it. So it looks like some of these extra arms might be pretty easy to pull off or knock off in some way.
Okay, so how about this? So because I get +1 from Discern Realities, what if I just shout, attack the arms, and maybe I'll pass my +1 forward on to the next person that wants to have a go at it?
Sure, yeah. So if
sense?
anybody typically targets the arms, you'll use that +1. That's fair.
You said there were sounds of chittering coming from one of the tunnels nearby?
Near Garth, yeah.
Could I cast light on an arrowhead and fire it down that tunnel to get an idea of what's coming at us?
Sure. Yeah, go ahead. I don't think the tunnel's a big enough target. You're a hunter. Yeah, it just happens. So, Garth, you see this ball of light whiz past your head. Maybe it makes you flinch. But behind you, it's pretty clear what's coming down the way. The rat the rats of the Rat King are coming, and they're coming in full force. They're like on top of each other. It looks more like a wave than it does organisms.
So, noting there's a whole bunch of smaller rats after me, I decided the best course of action is to try and take down its king and hopefully cause fear and that they will scatter. So I charge at the Rat King with plans to grab my spear out of him and hack him and try and take off some of its arms with a mighty swing.
Cool. It'll take you a minute because he's on the far side from you. So when you have the time to grab the spear, I'll let you know. Ulf, did you want to do any? Or sorry, not Ulf. Urtrek, did you want to do anything right now?
Yeah, I noticed the rat swarm coming. I want them to decide each other are food, and I want the swarm to eat itself.
Sweet. Yeah. Let's get your magic or your cast a spell roll there for that.
All right, here we go. Oops.
So to choose 2 drawbacks then?
Where is it? Hold on. More or less. Let's do I'll take the -1 intelligence and unforeseen side effects.
Okay. All right. So the unforeseen side effect is that you caught Garth in this, and Garth, I will give you a +1 forward after you use your teeth to bite a living thing. So if you attack with your teeth, you'll get a +1 forward to your next roll. You're getting this insatiable hunger. So yeah, you see the rats, and if it wasn't disgusting enough, it is. Oh, like any of us there would be vomiting and not able to do anything else because they're just like ripping each other's heads off. It's just like a mass of fur and blood as you see them tear each other to pieces. Let's cut away from you guys all in the tunnel here for a moment and take a look at Alfred. So, Centurion Alfred, the battle has started to progress. What are the first stages of the battle? What does it look like here?
The first thing that would be commanded is to, if we haven't already, scout out the armories within the cities so that we could, and then look at the map and see if the exits correspond to anywhere nearby. We could strike at them each individually.
Oh, the tunnel exits? Yeah. I think all that's definitely been scouted out, and those orders. Yeah, you could have given those orders. That sounds great.
Yeah. So basically, burn the armories, possibly even steal some of it, whatever you can get away with without, and retreat quickly.
Okay. What's happening on the battlefield right in front of you? Like we've been seeing these rocks being hurled at the walls and stuff. Are troops starting to deploy, or are you guys waiting for the gates to be fully open before you march up?
I would say this is more of a choke like a stranglehold tactic. What was it called? I keep on forgetting. Starvation. That's the usual word for it. We're keeping pressure on the gates. We don't feel like they're going to be able to counter our full force if they wanted to, unless they had some kind of secret weapon or something of the sort. So in the meantime, while they're trying to defend with the gates, we're basically infiltrating the inside. We have forces scattering around to different places where they have food, equipment. Those are the two main things, actually. Just food and equipment. The food for more morale purposes than anything. If there are any notable leaders that are commanding them, or any of note, assassinations would be quite ideal. Anything that could work from the tunnels.
Cool. Well, so the tunnels are a little bit dependent on this Rat King being taken care of first. The men won't get into the city until they get the go-ahead from our group down below. But we can hear some chaos starting in the city. Probably Minota's men have gotten through. Maybe a couple of groups of orcs are starting to cause some chaos. I don't think we're going to be able to see any assassinations yet. So how this is going to work is on 6 minuses, I'm going to ask you to describe like what's going terribly, and on 10 pluses, I'm going to ask you to describe like a great victory that the main army is getting. Okay.
Okay.
Cool. So yeah, we see some skirmishing then with the walls. It sounded like, but no main force has made its way towards the walls. Cool.
No.
Let's cut down below, and as you were investigating the Rat King, he charged at you again. Why don't you roll a hack and slash with him to engage one more time?
Okay. That's a 7.
Cool. So you trade damage again.
Cool.
It's the same as before. You get the 3d6 damage back, and
8 damage to it.
let's say that there are. Oh, what was that second roll for? Oh,
it's damage to me.
Oh, jeez. Okay.
I can take it.
Cool. So let's say there's 5 arms, including this tentacly one that was just added, that are kind of prominent and like clearly it has full control over. So I'll say the rest of the damage as you go. Every time you guys deal 6 damage, you'll be able to take out one of those arms. So why don't you describe for us taking down one of the arms?
Yeah, so I think I see, I don't have because it's rushing at me, I don't have a ton of time to react, so I think instinctively I go for the biggest arm, and maybe it's like a weird hairy troll arm. It's pretty easy to chop off because it's a pretty big target.
All right, and I think it just like, it rolls over the top of you again, and probably most of that damage is from being trampled by its natural. Garth, are you with us still? Cool. Garth, you're in a position now. You can try and retrieve your flame spear.
So I'm going after the flame spear. And I still have this ravenous desire to take a nice bite out of one of these arms. And as I'm traveling towards my spear, I notice one of these arms is more beast-like than the others. So I decide that one looks pretty prime and just take a nice deep bite out of it.
Cool. Let's get a hack and slash, and that'll we'll have you deal half damage, and if it goes well, you'll also get your weapon back.
So do I get my plus whatever, or just 2d6?
Just roll your 2d6, and then the next time you roll after having bitten something, then you'll get a +1 for it.
Only a 4. No bueno.
So Ruben, keep that in mind. Something bad has happened.
Should I announce that now or mark it down?
Just kind of think about it for the moment, and then I'll come to you in a few seconds. All right, so Garth gets whacked by this arm, kind of backhands you. You're going to take 3d6 damage from the creature. The spear that you were trying to grab, it falls at your side, but it's not like immediately in your grasp. Ulf, what are you doing as you see it roll over and then knock down one of your friends?
I wanna volley with my spear, with an idea of trying to stick that spear in it for use in a stunt in a future move.
Cool. I think that's just a regular volley then, and as long as it goes well, it'll stick as deep as you felt like it should.
So I tried to do that on my phone. I don't think the function.
Yeah, it didn't quite work.
I'll just roll it in the window I have open, and I'll tell you what it is. I'm not sure why I'm not seeing the other.
It's because you didn't put a space in between the roll.
Oh, it's supposed to be roll space 2d6. No, that didn't work either.
No, it's
I've got roll for your party open. Do you want to?
Yeah, I've been typing it into the window without the space, and it's been fine. So
Okay, I was just guessing.
I typed it back into some other chat we have, the whatever, and I got a 13.
oh, there it is.
You guys see that?
Yep.
Yeah. Cool. Well, 13.
Yeah, 13.
Sweet. Go ahead and deal your damage as well.
Oh yeah, damage as well. Well, actually, I'm not quite sure what the volley is, but 1d8 plus 1.
Yep.
Does volley give you options on a 10 plus?
No, volley just means you don't get in a bad situation and you don't use ammo.
Right. Yeah. 5 again.
5 again. Cool. Yeah. So you stick and you pin one of the arms, probably the beast arm that had just knocked Garth over. You pin it to its body so it can't use it anymore. So it's down to 3 arms. Urtrick, let's see what you're up to. You just created this horrible cesspool of rats eating each other. What do you have
about that? Huh? What am I for my next trick? How's that barbarian looking? It just we're pretty bad.
Wouldn't
right?
admit it, but she is looking unhealthy. She's looking poorly.
Should I just hit it or try some more complicated magic?
I think if you asked her in character, she would say, just hit it, just attack it.
Oh, with magic. I'll blast it. I want to do the forceful and try to get it off her again. We'll go for forceful and what was the other one I want? Let's do forceful and messy.
Great.
I hold and make that a 7.
Great. Yeah. What did you do beforehand that prepared for this moment?
Target practice.
Cool.
With my aim. Let's see. What do I get on a partial with black magic?
I think you just lose one of the tags.
Oh, yeah, you can peel off a tag. So the tags would be damage or forceful. Extra like an extra D4 I'm rolling or forceful.
Yeah, I'm gonna take away the messy. I think it's really more interesting for you to knock it back. Yeah, so you blast it and it's gonna hit all the way against the wall. Do you want to describe for us exactly what that looks like?
Yeah, I'll actually like grab the tentacle I made since I still have a connection to it, and the tentacle wraps around the rat's own throat and like starts pulling it back and strangling it and doing damage at the same time.
Cool. And how much damage should you do there?
4.
Cool. So not enough to take off an arm. All right, let's go back to our centurion. So the Pale Horde has started a feint attack, and they've sent a few warbands forward and are like they're making a show out of trying to climb the walls on the northern side of town. But something terrible is happening back to them, or back in advantage of the Tun Vareg. What is it?
Well, Tun Vareg, as it turns out, is sort of laying up against a mountainside. And as it turns out, they devoted a lot of the carts to pulling a lot of the rocks from there and using them as catapults, as catapult ammo. And so giant boulders are being hurled right over and just start squashing anyone who tries to get too close, which sort of shakes up the Pale Moon Horde because they hadn't predicted this kind of ammunition being used. And it doesn't really take much finesse to really cause a lot of destruction with these things.
Yeah, because they probably hit and then they roll over a couple of people. Yeah, even disciplined troops don't stand their ground very well against that. Cool. So we see this attack that they're launching get broken up very quickly on that. I love it.
Yeah. In the meantime, though, there was a 13.
Oh, yeah, I missed that. Go ahead. What's the big advantage that we've got coming back?
Well, even though there is a lot of advantages that they're getting from near the gates, a lot of warehouses start catching on fire, and some of them just start smashing. And all across the city, you can hear a lot of just like clinking of different things just breaking, glass, metal, everything is just starting to go awry for the moment.
Cool. So internal chaos. Probably
increasing.
On the southern side, closer to you guys then.
Yeah, closer to the caves. Sort of people are just going in and out. It's probably also the two Minotaur guys are really getting some good hits in. Cool. They probably had a similar tactic where they spread out and started lighting different buildings. Yeah,
I like it. Cool. Let's cut back down to the sewers. The beast itself is smashed up. It had just smashed up against the wall. It's looking pretty worse for wear. It still has some functioning arms, but it's not like it's not quite capable of running as fast as it used to be. I think Garth is probably the one, even though he got knocked down, probably the one in the closest position to act. Remember also that there's that spear sticking out of the side if you want to take advantage of the thing Ulf did last.
So did my original spear disappear?
No, you can pick it up. It landed next to you after the last contact.
So since I think I just like to throw my spear again and hope for a two-pronged spear attack, setting up something nice for Mika or Ulf.
Cool. Yeah. Go ahead and get a Savali with your intelligence.
10.
Cool. So roll your damage.
6.
6. Awesome. Which arm is it that you hit that you knocked off? There was the tentacly one, and I think we haven't described the other two.
So we have the beast one that's pinned, the tentacly one, which was choking it. So there's another one that was blue tint, very strong looking. You could see the ropes and the veins in it. Probably from a well-trained orc. That one was fully pierced by my throw and has been torn off.
Cool. All right. So it's got one functioning arm left. It turns. It's got both these spears sticking out of it. It's on fire on that same side as the spear that Ulf had stuck in it. I think it's about ready for the coup de grace, and I kind of want to give that to Ulf if you guys don't mind, because this was his hunt.
Yeah, most definitely.
Okay, I got a plan for that spear. I'm gonna do that thing where I stake my external frame into the ground and run out from my big cloak. And so I'm like, quick, I'm gonna sprint towards it and leap, and with the idea of grabbing that spear, planting my feet, and kind of yanking upwards to open the wound really big and maybe even take that arm off of it at the same time.
Cool. Let's just have it defy danger with Dex. It's going to kill it no matter. We're mostly just seeing what happens to you.
And I'm still rolling in this other window because I can't figure out why I can't.
And I trust you.
7.
Cool. So I think it's going to take you two leaps to get on there. You probably dodge one of its claws on your way, but then that tentacle arm whips out and clocks you in the back. Take 2d6 damage, and then you describe for us the rest of this finishing blow.
So that's 6 damage. And yeah, so leap 1, I leap out of the way of the tentacle arm, and then leap 2, I'm airbound and headed to grab the spear, but the tentacle arm whips back around and smacks me, flips me forward, but it's a full rotation, and I still land right where I wanted to. Took some damage doing it, but I got there. Grab the spear and then plant, and with a huge, clean and jerk move, I just rip it and do a flip backwards off the thing, and the spear and the arm and a huge ribbon of blood comes with me.
Awesome. And it kind of stumbles. I'm imagining like the RSUS, or the rodents of unusual size, that last, and it crumples to the ground dead. Awesome thing, guys. That was a really cool fight. Thanks. Let's go back to Ruben. I think we had one more 10 plus there, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to do a half a minute or half a moment of a description, and let's hear your detail. So the signal came out. Maybe it was like a single firework burst in the sky. So you guys know that the troops from the tunnel are now pouring through, whereas maybe they were trickling out in bands. Now the way is clear; they're pouring into the city. And so, Ruben, you and your company are starting to march forward towards the gates. And what's the big thing happening in the battle that shows it's swinging in your favor?
Well, one of the big things is that accompanied with the fireworks is we also had a sort of several stealth groups go in to sort of, with simple commands to be adaptable and try to, if anything goes wrong, try to sabotage it so that it swings in our favor from within. With that being said, as the catapults are like just throwing over the rocks, there's some guy just like waving in, "Come on, we need more rocks, we need more rocks." And then he sees just a bunch of these wagons being driven by the Phoenix cohorts. And one of them is the little gnome, and next to him you can just see the driver just limp with his head over and a dagger in his neck. And he's just driving right in, and the cart just careens over with all of them. He jumps off, all the others jump off, and the rocks just start rolling towards the catapults. And just everyone starts scattering. The catapults are crushed.
Cool.
And with that, everyone just starts pouring in through both gates.
Lovely. I think that pretty much wraps the siege. I mean, we see white flags in New Vareg go up all over the city upon seeing the catapults fall. The gates are rushed. They're begging for their lives. I feel like the cohort would probably be the better ones to surrender to. I think the orcs are ripping into anybody regardless. Old Vareg maybe takes a few minutes more because there's some bridges you guys have to cross. But as soon as a sizable force assembles at any of those bridges, the white flags go up, and the city is taken. If you guys would like to, we have a few minutes. We can do some, what do you call them? Epilogues. Or we can do our end of session and then do epilogues afterwards. What are you guys feeling?
Yeah, I think a quick epilogue for each character would be cool.
All right. I'll let you guys think on it for a second. Whoever's got an idea first, just raise your hand and we'll hear from you.
I wanted to turn some keys too. We can do both, so like epilogues and then turn keys, or
yeah. If you want to frame a scene for keys, go ahead and do that, and then you can do your epilogue after the scene. That sounds great.
Yeah, I would love to actually buy off my my brooding key, and the way I envision that is with Mika. I would imagine. So your appetite is for spoils and riches?
Yeah, to think about it.
All right. Well, quite work the way I was envisioning it. The buy-off is for when I allow myself to be infected by another person's joy, and I saw mirthful, and I thought maybe if you are celebrating, I could join in the celebration and kind of cast off this melancholy that I'm carrying around for the whole.
Yeah, I'm pretty. I'm actually pretty wounded. So I think I'm kind of reveling in the fact that I managed to get through this, even though I'm, mechanically quite close to last breath. I'm
Wow.
I'm like, a bit amped up by that. So yeah, I'm pretty I'm dripping, there's blood coming out of wounds, but I've just got this big smile on my face. And maybe there's maybe one of the arms actually has a bit of jewelry on it, and I see it glinting, and I go and chop the hand off and pull a bracelet off or whatever. Just this is why I do this.
Right on. So how about I run over to you with the idea of healing you, but when I get to you, you're obviously injured, but I'm also taken aback by the fact that you are so near death, but you're so glad to be alive, and yeah, that's the cue for my cloud to lift a little bit.
Cool.
Awesome.
Might I also suggest maybe you end up doing something with your success, your part of the hunt, with the corpse of the rat, you sort of take its head or something like that. Would that be something?
Me or Ulf?
Ulf.
Oh.
It was his hunt.
Yeah, does it have a tail?
Yeah, as thick as a man's arm.
That's what I want. I'll take the tail and coil it up like a whip and hang on to that for some reason.
Rat King whip.
Cool, love it. Ulf, did you want to do your epilogue at the same time, or do you want a minute to think about that?
I actually wanted to turn another key again with Mika. But this might not happen right in the moment. What I wanted was a tattoo, and yeah, it runs into my epilogue. So you want to jump right to that?
Yeah, let's see it. That sounds great. Yeah, you can roll it into your epilogue, and if you want to have a moment of RP with Mika, go ahead.
Well, I don't know about role play, but I'll just describe the scene, and if there's role play to be done, y'all can call it out. So at some point, maybe we're above ground, and siege is on. The city's burning. Everyone's surrendered, and there's no danger. And we're sitting by, and I approach Mika and mention that yeah, I've seen the tattoo work that she does, and I don't have any tattoos, but I've recently kind of made peace with the spirit of the forest that my clan worships, and I might like that symbol tattooed.
Yeah. So what? There's a symbol already associated with it, or you have an idea for what that symbol would look like?
Yeah. So the spirit of the forest is this. It's this great amorphous blob with huge elk antlers on top. The elk antlers are the symbol of my god. So I want that tattooed inside the palm of my hand.
Yeah. So as you're saying this, I'm like in the dirt, maybe with a stick. I'm kind of like okay, tell me more about that. I'm kind of like drawing what I think that might look like.
Yeah, there's 16 antlers and it's symmetrical and each one has meaning, but we don't have to go into that. Just know that they, go off in this pattern on both sides, and that's the spirit of the forest. That's the god that I was raised to worship.
Yeah, so I'm like kind of scratching into the dirt with a stick or whatever, and I kind of point down at it. And is that what you had in mind? And it's a simple, like the tattoos that I have are like, they're not images, they're like runes. They're really simplified, like hieroglyphs or runes. So I point down at a really a symbolic representation of what you've just described, maybe a dotted line representing a circle. So that would be the amorphous aspect of it. And then, did you say 16?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So then a branching, just simple lines coming off of either side into 16 segments representing the antlers. And is that what you had in mind?
I'll say this is perfect. It's not exactly the symbols that were drawn by my people, but then again, I'm not exactly happy with the way they worship. So I'll take your interpretation over theirs any day.
Cool. So I grab my kit of it's like a traditional like hammered. There's like one tool to hammer and one tool for the needle, and I grab my ink and you lay your hand flat on maybe on my lap, and I get to work.
All right. That's done. Time passes, and when she's finished, I want to use that hand to cure some of her serious wounds, and when I do, that symbol lights up with the light, and it's kind of the sign of the magic taking effect. And I don't know, maybe that's the end of Ulf. Maybe he wanders off at that point. No one really knows where he goes.
You leave the cohort?
Leave the cohort, yeah. Somewhat less lost. Maybe he'll be back, but I think he's found his confidence and wants to see where that takes him in the wilderness on his own for a bit.
Cool.
Very cool.
Well, Mika, since you're unmuted already, do you want to do your epilogue or turn any keys?
Yeah, I actually just Ulf just gave me an opportunity to turn a couple anyway. So I think for me, once I finish that, I would go find Gaul, my orc friend, and say, hey, you promised me a feather. I intend to earn it.
Feather, no, rat pelt. And somehow he's gotten a piece of this rat skin, and he's kind of like fashioned it into, however you want to describe it, like a jacket or an arm piece, some kind of cover, a cape, whatever you want to say. And he gives that to you, and he says, "But feathers I have for you too." And he's found like these ridiculous, ostentatious golden feathers with like jewels encrusted on them. Some merchant hadn't gotten it out of the city in time. And he gives you one of those.
So you is it possible for me to join you to continue fighting alongside of you?
And he looks side to side to make sure nobody from the cohort's nearby. Indeed. And he maybe has some white powder or maybe even paint, and he just immediately starts smearing, this paint on your face and down your chest and stuff, marking you as part of the Pale Horde. And he points to the Phoenix cohort. He says, leave that behind.
So I'll take off. There's a cloak, and is there like a brooch that closes it? Yeah. So I'll take that off, and not out of disrespect. So I'll like fold it up nicely and leave it sitting. Fold the cloak up and leave the brooch sitting on top of it in camp. And then I'll take off and go join Gaul and the Pale Moon Horde.
Cool. Like that. Let's see. Ruben, did you want to go next?
Sure. So I think the best place for Alfred to sort of have his epilogue might actually just be meeting up with the previous the witch or the crone or whatever you want to call her, and sort of having sort of a talk with her. Sort of a tea for two kind of deal while talking about his plans for his ritual.
Yeah. So you will have obtained that mimic definitely by this point. It's artwork given you in camp. So, what does that look like? Or do you want to do a little RP with her?
I would say an RP with her would be
sure.
Yeah.
So she's got her little golems, and they're serving the tea, and she sits. You think cross-legged, but she's so tiny, and that dress is so big, you're not quite sure. But she's sitting there, a little fire in front of her, and she says, "You want to use my circle, then?"
If you have no objections, I would certainly like to do so.
Oh, for one who could have taken my life and who steered his friends away, I think I could do that. And she'll, maybe it's an hour or so later after you finish tea, she parts some shrubs. And it doesn't look like a very big area from outside, but as you walk through the shrubbery, there's like these stones laid in a big circle, like Stonehenge size, but like little rocks all around.
Mm-hmm.
This is the place.
I see. Hold on. Actually, how the heck? Hold on. How would I? I say very well. I must get something very quickly, and he goes back to goes back for a couple seconds, and he comes back with a wagon he's bringing along. He's been driving it himself, more or less. He hasn't trusted anyone else to come along, really.
Okay.
And he opens it, and he's really it's hard to drag it out, but he's pulling out like a cage. And just inside is this giant, it's about like 5 feet tall, like 5 feet thick. It's like a huge treasure chest. And it just seems to be sitting there. And he's sort of like, so this is the circle, you say?
This is the circle. This is what gives life to the forest. But you may use it for your purposes as well.
Then it shall give more life. Before I go and do this, may I ask, who is it that told you?
It's this eye. And she opens it up. She's been pretty squinty, but as she opens it up, it's completely white eye. This was a gift from my grandnanny. It sees beyond the veil, and I don't see anything from you beyond the veil.
An impressive veil, I must say. Surely you do not speak of death.
The veil means many things, I suppose. For most, it means death. For you, something else, I believe.
I cannot thank you enough, I should say. And with that, he pulls over the cage over to the circle, and as he's doing sort of a ritual of sort, he's pulling out the ingredients. He starts simmering some of them up.
Yeah.
Sort of says, I will be with the cohort for a long while, at least till my end, until my transfer to another place. But they have the most interesting people I've ever seen. Some of the best. It's quite a nice place in the world when you view it from that aspect.
Yeah, and she'll back out of the circle while you finish your ritual.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. All right, let's Ortrek or Garth. Either of you got an idea for kind of an epilogue?
Yeah. So after the tunnel, there's still a lot of fighting going on, right? Like that was just us opening the gate, basically.
Yeah.
Who was the head wizard guy in the in our Phoenix cohort?
Ishtar. He's a goat man with a long cyan beard.
How many wise? Like, how far down the chain am I from him?
You definitely have trained with him. He does regular meetings with all of the magic users, but you may not be on a first name basis with him. Although after some of the things you did here, maybe you are.
Well, I was thinking, like, in the chaos of a fight, it might be a good time to eliminate some rivals and maybe gain some rank, get a promotion or two or three.
Okay.
He might be too far ahead. I don't know, but like I could, enemy archers, like, shoot at that guy, and then the rock under you crumbled and you fell and broke your neck, kind of stuff.
Cool. Yeah, let's get a description of one of your magical assassinations of a fellow Phoenix cohort wizard. That sounds cool.
Hold on, it all froze up on me there. Could you repeat that? Sorry.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I said let's hear a description of one of these assassinations of a fellow wizard from the cohort.
Yeah, so you could have a dude sitting there, he's throwing fireballs or whatever he's doing, and I'm like, the enemy archers just keep shooting at him, and then I'll slip in, and he might throw up a defense. I'll just take it down.
Cool. Yeah, so he shoots up like a wall of flame to block these arrows, and pretty soon the wall of flame turns to like this gooey, misty darkness, and then it just like the arrows go straight through it, and sticks him, and he dies.
Oops.
That is absolutely horrific and terrible. That was all right, Garth.
Make myself important.
Yeah, you're gonna get a promotion. That was your direct commander. Garth, what are you up to in the aftermath of the battle?
So I had actually thought about getting a cool tattoo earlier when I went up a level and kind of became what do we call this? Born of Fire. I was interested in kind of commemorating that moment. So I was going to backtrack a little and kind of slip in after I saw Ulf getting his tattoo, and kind of wandered over there and mentioned that I'd like to be next in line, and I wanted a kind of like a torch over this, kind of starts from my wrist and heads up towards my elbow on the top portion of my right, which is my prominent arm. It's kind of what I was shooting for. So, gonna assume since Mika already had all his stuff out, he's on board. She's on board, excuse me.
Yeah. So similarly, I kind of take my stick and erase the lines that I've drawn in the dirt for Ulf, and as you're describing it to me, I'm sketching it out. Again, it's not a realistic representation of a torch, more of a kind of a symbolic representation. But I kind of sketch something out and look at you and point down at it. Is this acceptable?
And I say
this is bigger than I usually work, but I will do this for you.
Well, I appreciate it. It looks perfect. I too come from an ancient background, and I'm into the symbols more than reality.
Very well.
So,
it would be my privilege and my honor to do this for you.
Perfect. So I get my new tattoo, kind of symbolize my growth, and I'm happy as in the cohort, kind of like Alfred is, but maybe not as involved. I'm just more interested in going where the action is. Still kind of running from some of these symbols of past sacrifice that we looked at earlier. There's things I'm still trying to overcome related to my ancestry, and want to learn more about them and myself. So I decide to just continue traveling with whomever offers me the widest experience. Don't necessarily need the money, since I can kind of conjure my own weapons. So I just go wherever the action is.
Not to mention that you can literally tell people's fortune, and that's got to have money in it too, right?
Whenever I need it.
So cool. Yeah. So you're probably in the cohort, but you're regularly volunteering for like the most dangerous, the most sneaky kind of risk-taking.
100%.
Cool.
If we're going to searching extra tunnels or anything like that, I'm first to sign up.
Awesome. Well, that's. I think we'll run through keys, and then we'll shut off the camera and do some just end of session. What are your thoughts about everything? So let's start with Mika. Call out your keys. Call out whoever aided with them. And if you guys want to keep track of your experience from these characters are welcome to come back anytime I bring back the World of Daru. So maybe in August.
Sure. So I turned the tattooing my colleague's key twice, and I think in the course of doing so, I also got to explain my ancestry, my rituals and beliefs in doing so. So yeah, so I did that with the help of Garth and Ulf both. Yeah, that was cool.
All right, Ulf.
I guess I'll go. So I think I got 2 keys. One key really was the key of the cunning, offering advice, and that was definitely key to Wolf asking for my opinion when we kind of reached that big underground cavern. So I think that's kind of the only one I got, thanks to Wolf.
Cool. Alfred, let's hear yours. You're muted.
Thanks. I don't think I really turned anyone else's keys because I got separated pretty quickly. So, and I didn't take advantage of the camp beforehand. So, unless anyone remembers anything, I'm pretty sure I didn't turn anyone else's keys. I know I got Key of the Merited. I know I at least got that from someone, but not. I don't think it was from any player characters.
Yeah, you got a promotion for sure there.
Yeah. So that's more or less just one experience.
Cool. Urtrick.
Let's see. I don't know if I've made anybody respect my magic. Maybe Mika. She was asking for help.
So yeah, because you guys had that little exchange when you were fighting the rat, like, oh, you want me to use my magic? Yeah, that's good.
I would say that I kind of respect it more as well, seeing as I was closest to the horde that I thought was going to kill me, and all of a sudden they're killing themselves. I thought that was a nice saving grace.
Yeah, and I think I appreciate it as Ultrex. You know, what I do with an axe, he does with magic, and no, I still don't. I don't quite trust it. I at least have maybe a newfound respect for it.
Yeah. Key of the Discordant. I mean, I made the rats eat each other, but I don't think they would. I would consider that to be one big monster. I wouldn't consider it to be like a faction turning on itself. Key of Power. If you count my epilogue, I fully fulfilled that through assassinations and promotions and stuff.
Sure. Yeah, that's fine. Because really, the epilogue is just things that happened that we didn't have time for play. So yeah, that's great. And Ulf, I think you hit all of them, right?
I don't think I got awestruck, but I definitely did Hunter because I was able to track the Rat King, and I bought off the Melancholic with Mika.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. So, in assessing questions, did we defeat a notable enemy?
Yeah.
Yep.
Did we discover something new and interesting about the world?
Yes.
And did we loot interesting treasure?
I got the Rat King's tail.
I think that's on me, because that kind of got hand waved. I cut it at the action, because you guys would have been able to loot the town and take home like bucket loads of gold each. So yes, you did, but I didn't. I cut it too early, so sorry about that. I'm going to turn off the cameras, and then anybody who has the time to stick around for Roses and Thorns will do that.